Alright, this is the Tier 4 U.S. cruiser, the Phoenix. The Phoenix is quite a change compared to the St. Louis or the Chester, and it really starts to bridge the gap between how you play U.S. cruisers. With the St. Louis or the Chester, typically you just go charging in there, and you've got enough armor to take a few hits. The Phoenix, you can go charging in there, but we'll get into that. But you really got to think a bit about how you're going to play this ship, because if you just go charging in there and the enemy starts really laying into you, especially if it's a battleship, you're going to go down. You've got to think a bit about how you play this ship. If you come straight from the St. Louis to the Phoenix, you might be a little disappointed. But after you learn how to play this ship, you're going to find that it's one of the ships you keep coming back to. It's an awful lot of fun. The St. Louis has got 14 guns. This thing's only got 10. But this thing goes a lot faster. It goes 35 knots. And it's got a 5.4 second rudder shift. This is a fast ship. It's also got something that only, I think, one other cruiser in the American cruiser lineup has. Torpedoes. And you're going to use them, and boy do they lay in the hurt. That's what's so cool about those torpedoes. Now, for new players who are just working in to the World of Warships lines, a lot of them are not expecting to see an American cruiser coming at them and think that this thing has torpedoes, but it does. And when you learn how to use them, you can really have some fun with this ship. It can be charged in. You can go charging in with it, but what you want to do is look at the enemy lineup. If there's a lot of destroyers in that lineup, well, charge right in, because this thing is a cruiser and it's meant to take on destroyers. It can take on other cruisers, but it will be a bit of a fight. You're going to have to use that rudder and keep yourself dodging and pivoting. Against enemy battleships, you really got to be careful, because the battleship shells can citadel this thing real easy, and that will end your game in a hurry. The way to take on battleships is you've got to ambush them. Come out from behind an island, and if you're going 35 knots and you're close, they cannot keep their guns pointed at you. You're too fast. And then you can just send your torps into their side and take them out. So I'm going to go ahead and put a little camouflage on this. You can see the Happy St. Patrick's Day stuff flying around. I'm going to put on some flags to increase my chances of starting a fire. And that's good enough. Let's get into battle. Well, actually, take a look on the right side of your screen there. You can see I've got up the data charts on the torpedo tubes. There's two launchers, one on the starboard side, one on the left. Each launcher can fire 3 torpedoes. They have a 5.5 kilometer range, which for this tier is pretty darn good. The speed of 56 knots is mediocre though. So think ahead about where you think the enemy is going to turn. The artillery, 10 guns, 152 millimeters. The range is 13.7 kilometers, whereas the St. Louis, I believe, is 10 kilometers. 7-second reload time, fast turret rotation, and you can see the amount of damage that a high explosive shell or an armor piercing shell would do on a good hit. So you can lay in some damage if you can stay on target. So let's take a look at the enemy ships, what kind of lineup we've got here. And there are 2 enemy destroyers. Carl Shore, Phoenix, Omaha's a fun ship. That Wyoming's gonna give us trouble. Thank goodness there's only 1 battleship on the enemy team. If there were 4 and only 1 of us cruisers, we might be in trouble. Alright, so start battle. Let's take a look at how we appear on the map. And looking how our team has spawned, I'm way up there, so I'm going to start off slow. I don't want to go charging into a group of 5 enemy ships. But I'm probably going to run into an enemy destroyer. The destroyers are really good about charging ahead and spotting the enemy while remaining concealed themselves. You can see by the layout of the guns on the lower left of the screen how they are laid out. There are no centerline mounted turrets. They're all around the perimeter, more or less. So you're only going to get 5 guns at once, pointed at anybody. Let me go ahead and zip ahead in the video. So we see an enemy at D7 who just vanished. He's hiding behind that island. He'll be out in a moment. Another enemy at F9. Well, we do have fighter planes up there. Okay, now we can see him again. And there's an enemy destroyer. Usually I fire 1 lead shot to get an idea of how much I need to lead him. Oh, hey, look what I just found. He's real close. So he's shooting at me. Usually a destroyer doesn't do that much damage to you when they hit you. He just got lucky. Fortunately, I have a captain's skill that allows my engine and my rudder to keep working even after they're damaged. They won't work as well, but they'll still work, and that's something. You don't want to be a sitting duck. Now there are my torps, and he dodged them, but he basically had to maintain his heading while he dodged those torps. So he's seen the battleship at F3, and he's not shooting at me anymore, so he's going to sink his teeth into one of our friendly battleships. I can't let that happen. So, okay, I took out his steering, set his engines on fire. He used his repair ability. So now it's going to take a while before he can use it again. So if I can land some shots here, I can hurt him. I'm using AP, but I'm switching back to high explosive shells. His AP just didn't quite do the damage. And that should finish him, yep. Now, alright. Well, whoops, watch where I'm going. Now, while we were focused on our battle, our team took out 5 enemy ships. Look at the score up top. So we're looking really good. And there's an enemy right in front of me. And he's a cruiser. He's not a destroyer, so he's got bigger guns. So I am getting on that rudder, and I'm kicking back and forth, trying to keep myself from being an easy target. He's still outside of torpedo range. You can fire from outside torpedo range if the enemy is coming in, because in the time it takes for the torpedo to get there, he will have closed the distance. Okay, so I'm going to send some torps down there. Maybe I'll get lucky. That's a far range shot. I'm going to put that fire out. And I'm turning around. He also is shooting at that battleship down our friendly team. So he's not shooting at me anymore. So I'll send some more torps. Let's see how these do. Alright. 10,000. Oh, that was nice. Okay, he's shooting at me again. I think I made him mad. Okay, he's gone. Now here is an enemy battleship. And I'd like you to take a look. Ooh. One of our battleships just took a torpedo. Okay, well, take a look at the mini-map on D45 line. You see that cruiser going almost due north? That friendly cruiser? He was behind that island. So he is basically ambushing this battleship. And you're going to see him charge in there, throw some torpedoes. Then he's going to turn around and do it all over again. And this battleship cannot turn his guns fast enough. His secondaries, yes, but not his main guns. Meanwhile, I'm laying in some fire too. He's at 10 kilometers. So you can see the dispersion of my shells is quite good. And I set them on fire. Also want to be careful you don't shoot your own team. But he's far enough away, I'm not going to shoot my own guy. But he did send some torps, and he's still turning around hard. He's going to send in more. That almost finished him, but I think my fire is going to wipe out this battleship. Since he's not pointed at me, yeah, the fire took him out. Since his guns weren't pointed at me, I could sail a broadside to him. It didn't really matter. So that's basically it. There's just that enemy aircraft carrier, and the game's just going to stop the bleeding and go ahead and terminate the game, give us a victory. I didn't score very much in the way of experience, but it demonstrates how to play the Phoenix. You got to stay on that rudder, you got to stay mobile, and you got to use those torpedoes. You can see the damage I inflicted there. And you can get to see the Carl sure hurt me more than that Clemson sure did. And then of course credits and XP. Let's take a look at the armor, the layout. So there's the Phoenix. Let's go ahead and filter out the layers of armor. And there is its citadel. That is a huge citadel, and it's above water. A lot of ships do not have their citadel above water, but this thing does. So a destroyer probably can't citadel you. Maybe they can. Close range and a broadside hit. The torpedoes definitely will. Another cruiser can probably do it, but another battleship definitely will citadel you. You really want to be careful in how you go and take on an enemy battleship. 37 millimeters, 76 millimeters. That's not a lot of armor. On top of that, you get 13 for the deck, and the superstructure will give you 10. And then there's plating, 10 millimeters. So let's take a look at the guns. You can see their placement. There's not a lot of them. 25 millimeters and 6 millimeters of armor. Not a lot of guns. I think they could have put a lot more on board this ship. Alright, so your survivability is 25,400 against a battleship. That'll go quickly. We've gone over the main batteries. The torpedo tubes, we've gone over them. Now the AA defense is unimpressive. 12.7 millimeter Brownings. You only got 4 of those. You've got 2 of these at 3.1 kilometers. And you've got 4 of these things, good for 3 kilometers. And then of course there are the Browning machine guns. They're impressive to look at, but they sure don't do much. They don't do much at all. So your maneuverability, maximum speed is 35 knots. That's really good. A 630 millimeter turning circle, which isn't bad. But that rudder shift is great. For a cruiser, yeah, that's great. If you came from the St. Louis, you're gonna love that rudder shift. And her concealment, her detectability range by sea is 13.1 kilometers, probably close to 17 when you fire your guns. And then detectability range by air is 6.7. So that's it. That is how to Phoenix. Thank you so very much for watching. Stay safe and have fun.